Whether or not you believe that pornography is everyone's own business, it is undeniably big business. So big that pornographic materials are now produced for every possible audience. Pornographic themes now include much more than just nudity. Several years ago, actual murders were supposedly portrayed in so-called snuff films, setting off alarms throughout the country. People have started to take a closer look at these new variations in X-rated merchandise, especially the growing link between violence and pornography and its effect on people.
The classic example is the Rolling Stones album cover. And if you look at that theme on that cover, here's this woman bound and gagged, and she's saying, "I'm black and blue all over for the Rolling Stones." And then underneath, "and I love it."
Most of us don't seek out the vicarious sex of pornography, but when it is sought, it is easily found. And if you still believe that X-rated merchandise is more show than go, you'll be surprised to know that the X really does stand for explicit, and has for quite a long time. The increase in violent and aggressive themes is now an established part of the pornography business, and now is also the subject of extensive research by one University of Wisconsin psychology professor. Two small rooms in the psychology department are the laboratories in which Ed Donnerstein studies the effects of violent pornography. By pairing test subjects with his assistants, who are women, Donnerstein begins a routine in which subjects are to give electric shocks to their partner after a series of tasks and after watching violent pornographic films. This is not a paper test, not a multiple choice, or I feel more aggressive, true or false. This test allows for real electric shocks, and the frequency and intensity of those shocks are telling Ed Donnerstein quite a lot about violent pornography.
In fact, I think that's been the most interesting thing we found in our research, is that whether we anger subjects in our laboratory or whether we don't anger them, doesn't seem to make any difference. Anytime we tend to show subjects an aggressive pornographic film, male subjects that is, we tend to get increases in aggressive behavior. The common scenario in aggressive pornography is not the scenario we see in other types of violence. We normally see a woman being aggressed against. She might resist the first minute or so. In a few more minutes, she becomes a willing participant, and by the end of the film, she is sexually aroused to what's happening.
She is.
She is sexually aroused. So is the male. I mean, everybody gets rewarded. It's a very strange combination. And basically what that does is obviously a number of things. It legitimizes violence against women. It says, look, it's okay to aggress. If we listed the 10 most important factors which contribute to aggression, okay, aggressive pornography probably combines all 8 of them into a 10-minute sequence. Okay, it's doing everything. It's arousing, there's aggressive cues, it's legitimizing, it's serving as a model, it's doing a whole host of things. They're beginning to find that people after viewing aggressive pornography are willing to endorse rape, willing to admit that if they weren't caught in a rape, they'd be willing to commit it themselves, that they change their attitudes towards a rape victim. They don't find her as suffering as much. They don't see the rape as violent. We can go into local adult bookstores now, where we get our films, for instance, and there'll just be racks of films of rape. You can pick up a magazine at your neighborhood stop and go, look in the back, and for $15 order 5 rape films. I mean, they'll say these are films of rape.
These films that Donnerstein uses in his experiments may be new, but they have not come out of a vacuum. While hardly in the pornography category, old film stills show a hint of things to come. And with some films today showing self-mutilation, dismemberment, and the real death of women, the influence of these themes becomes more and more alarming. Research like Donnerstein's begins to crack the code of what that influence is and can be. And the implications of that research affect how we regard our own values. Susan Friedman of the university's Women's Studies program finds these implications critical in light of the changing and expanding roles for both women and men today. Why, in the last 5 years or 10 years, do you think this link between violence and pornography would be so strong?
I think that we have to recognize that violence against women portrayed in images is big business now. And I don't think it used to be big business before. It might have been present in the culture, but not so big. It seems to me significant that pornography gets to be big business at the time when ideas about sex roles, women's roles, concepts of the family are undergoing such phenomenal fast change. I think for men to see images of violence being done against women helps to legitimate their going out and committing other kinds of violence against women.
Do you think pornography, and especially the violent pornography, is some sort of a sex education tool? That we're learning from it in that way?
It is a very frequent kind of sex education that men used to take their sons to a prostitute. Now they take them to a porn shop.
If people can learn sexual behavior from films, they can also learn aggressive behavior. And they're going to get ideas, and those ideas are going to be reinforced, and they're going to eventually find out, yeah, it's okay really to aggress against women. Everybody enjoys it, nobody minds it. That's the image which is coming across, and that's the danger.